Yo, what's going on, everybody? How are we doing today? Welcome back to another episode of Sports Talk with Chavez. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. I'm putting out a couple videos a week at this point, and anything helps, even a like. So today we're going to talk about one of the basement divisions in football when it comes to winning. But somehow they have like the top overall income as a division. The Cowboys have been in the headlines forever, even when they're bad. That's not a coincidence. They're always talked about and are the top go-getter when it comes to annual income. Though they are always in the headlines, they haven't been in them for the right reasons the past couple of years. And this off-season salsa that they are doing with Dak isn't good. We'll talk about that and how they lost it to a banged-up Eagles team last year. Philly has the talent to compete each year if their stars can remain healthy, but that's the big question, isn't it? When it comes to Carson Wentz, can the guy stay healthy for at least one full year? The Giants, though, look to have hit the Daniel Jones pick, which I didn't hate as much as everyone else myself. If you're drafting a younger Eli Manning and he went number 1 overall, right? So taking Jones 6th overall looks like a steal if he can guide the team to 2 Super Bowls eventually, if you ask me. Washington seems to be finally getting the ship at least heading in the right direction. Will their defense be able to carry them since it now seems stacked? If Dwayne Haskins can keep the ship from sinking on his side of the ball, this team might have a strong enough front seven to make a 49ers-like turnaround this year. Let's get in a little deeper, and I look forward to looking back on these at the end of the season and seeing how wrong I actually am. So this division was pretty weak last year, and there was one player that stood above the rest during the regular season, as he literally carried his team to playoff berth, eventually bowing out early in their playoff game. That man being Carson Wentz. I know we all are thinking, what about his durability issues? I'm here to tell you that now there's hopefully another viable backup in the fold with Jalen Hurts, so no need to fret. I think you guys will have a much better year as far as the injury bug goes this year. Therefore, you guys, in my opinion, will have a better record because this team still has talent on both sides of the ball. Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, Zach Ertz remain on offense, and I see this group staying healthier than they did a year ago. That being said, they are all another year older as well. Ertz should still be in his prime, but the other two are on the other side of 30 each, and it might become harder for them if they've lost a step or aren't as agile as they once were. This may be why they brought in Marquise Goodwin via trade with San Francisco and drafted Reagor a little higher than maybe he should have gone. I believe he would have been available later in the draft, so why not wait? The Eagles need a stable of receivers just in case something happens to their primary guys again, yeah, but I don't see why they picked Reagor instead of maybe T. Higgins, who I personally believe would have fit a little bit better. I do see the Eagles finishing around where they did statistically last year. That's 12th in points per game and 14th in the yardage department per game. Hopefully they can fix the fumble problem they had last year, though, too, as they ranked second to last in fumbles lost last season. I'm willing to bet Miles Sanders will have that better taken care of when he steps on the field for the 2020 season. He was a decent contributor to the fumbleitis that plagued the team, as well as injuries, as we discussed from last year. I really like Miles Sanders, though, and I think he's going to be good this year. I might even go as far to say he may be a top 5 running back by the end of the season. I don't know. Maybe we'll have an episode of players I expect to have a good year like later on or something. Let me know what you guys think. Anyways, bringing in Darius Slay was the most notable acquisition. Howie Roseman has proven to be a magician, working high-profile guys into the salary cap for his already star-studded team, bringing in a decent haul through the draft as well, except for picking wide receivers the past couple years that haven't panned out yet. And doubling down by drafting 3 more this past April doesn't make it look better. Still too early to say for sure that they're busts, but when they don't get on the field that much, it's hard to put a judgment on the pick other than incomplete. Roseman has put this team back on the map the past half-decade, though. The Eagles have done a good job at bringing in fresh faces while keeping important veterans for their young players to learn from, not only on but off the field as well. Fletcher Cox is a mainstay in this team's defense and will anchor what should be a much improved unit this year. We all know they couldn't cover well, and injuries played to that, but they have been missing on corners for a little while now too. Kind of seems like the perimeter in general is a spot that Roseman and the scout team may lack now that I'm thinking more about this. Anyways, I do like this team, and I think Slay will fit in just fine with Philly for a couple years at least. I have the Eagles going 9-7, largely due to them having Carson Wentz and getting a quality backup. We all think it'll happen, that he gets hurt at some point. I really hope that he doesn't, but there's always that thought because he's been hurt each year so far. However, I do believe if it's not for the playoffs, Jalen Hurts will fill in nicely for a few games when called upon. I don't believe he's polished enough to maintain a starting role just yet, but making some splash plays as a rookie is a good scenario for the Eagles no matter what Wentz's health is. Like this team, our next team has 2 capable starting quarterbacks, but these are both proven in this league. They just haven't officially signed the presumed starter yet. That's right, the damn Dallas Cowboys. Now, naturally being a Bills fan, I can't stand the Cowboys. I was a little too young to remember the Super Bowls, but every time I see highlights of those games, I'm not happy about it. We couldn't win one of those 4 consecutive Super Bowls, man. Disliking the Cowboys never felt as good as it did last year, though. Not only did my favorite team beat them, but they also missed the playoffs with an astounding 7-9 record. How does a team with this much talent on both sides of the ball do so poorly? I was a firm believer that Jason Garrett was on his way out of town, especially after that Buffalo game where we went down to Jerry World and stomped them boys. I've always thought Garrett was overstaying his welcome in Dallas, though, after not doing much in the playoffs, even when Tony Romo was there. This team is oozing with talent. They have one of the top offensive lines, top running back, wide receiver, D-line, linebackers, and if they do end up signing Dak to a long-term deal, quarterback. So they're in a really good position from a roster perspective. On paper, this team should be competing for Super Bowls, and maybe they will be able to do that now with their new head coach, Mike McCarthy. Even if Dak holds out the red rifle, Andy Dalton is a viable starter for the interim. The Cowboys had the number 1 offense last year and added another potential stud receiver in CeeDee Lamb, which will only add fuel to their fire to become a solid contender, even with a somewhat tough schedule. They can't get any better than the top offense from a year ago. I expect them to remain right up there since Kellen Moore remains their offensive coordinator, so there shouldn't be a whole lot of change going on, other than hopefully coming away with more wins than losses, contrasting last year for the Cowboys, as well as the last time Coach McCarthy stepped on a football field with the Green Bay Packers, toting a losing record and getting ousted as the captain. I do see them being able to get Dak to, at the very least, play under the franchise tender they placed on him. And these guys coming into the season hungry and ready to prove their doubters wrong. Bringing in Gerald McCoy was a great addition for this defense who needed a little help in the run game. I find it hard to believe they will regress a ton even without Byron Jones. Don't get me wrong, he's a good corner, but he doesn't create turnovers like you want a guy that was asking as much as he was asking for. I think Trayvon Diggs will fill in nicely by the season's end and prove why he should have been a first-round pick. I like their young core of guys to build on going forward, and Stephen Jones has done a pretty good job getting depth all over the roster through the draft as well. I see the Cowboys going 10-6 and winning the NFC East this year as long as they get Dak taken care of. The rest of the division, aside from the Eagles, are still trying to figure out their identity as a team, with both the Giants and Washington starting fresh with new head coaches. And with a new head coach wired to win, this team needs to win now. Otherwise, I'm not so sure Dak gets paid like he wants to. And very well may head for a Jameis Winston type offseason in 2021, where his original team lets him go, but seemingly every other team is set at quarterback or are focused on a younger guy they drafted or will draft to develop for a much cheaper price tag. If the Cowboys win at least one playoff game, I believe they'll work it out with Dak long term. If they flounder again, though, and don't win a playoff game, you might see them cut bait and try their luck in the draft, possibly moving a few pieces to go higher in the draft next year. Who knows right now? Just my thoughts. The NFL is a cutthroat business, and the bottom line comes down to winning no matter the individual accolades. I do hope the best for Dak, though, as he has been grossly underpaid thus far in his career. I don't believe he's worth what he's asking for because he hasn't been able to win with the cast he has now. But I do believe he'll get re-signed, though, and will avoid all of that I just said, hopefully. The next team up is up and coming, but how much can they win with a new head coach and a roster that's not quite complete? I don't really consider the Giants a New York team because they play in New Jersey, practice in New Jersey, they have New Jersey state laws. They and the Bills had different open dates because the governments are different. That should tell you enough. That's why it drives me nuts that the Jets and Giants are both called New York teams. Anyways, the Giants seem to have a decent roster building on the offensive side of the ball. Their last two draft picks will carry this group for years to come, in Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. I like both young guys, and as I said in the intro, if Daniel Jones turns out to do at least close to what Eli did, then that pick was a great move. Saquon has already proven he's a star in this league, and I really liked how Darius Slayton played as a rookie, their wide receiver as well. He had some decent numbers considering he missed a little bit of time due to injury. I don't think the Giants will be the greatest this year, though, with a first-year head coach. A work-in-progress offensive line will keep them from that. But they're heading in the right direction, and the defense will come along. Adding Bradbury was a good move as well, but they still have plenty holes to fill. I believe this team can win some games, but will have a tough go with a difficult schedule for them. Playing the AFC North wasn't the best pull for them, and having another down year can be expected, in my opinion. I look forward to seeing Daniel Jones make more improvements off his decent rookie season. They do still have Golden Tate, Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram, who, if healthy, is a force on the football field. I really like the young tight end to make a jump into talks of top 5 in the league in his position. As long as he remains healthy and on the field, and doesn't get himself traded, because I just heard recently that there were trade rumors about him. I think this offense can definitely improve on their 18th ranked scoring offense from a year ago, as well as jump up their 23rd rank in yards per game. Long as Daniel Jones progresses, there's no reason to believe the offense won't move forward with Jason Garrett now calling plays for Big Blue. On the defensive side of the ball, I expect it to be another rocky year for them, ranking 30th in points allowed per game last year, as well as 25th in yards per game. It's not great, and I don't think they did enough yet to significantly increase their production on that side of the ball. However, they do have some young guys that could develop into pretty good players this year. It will be an uphill battle for this team, as they're likely to be in some shootouts in the coming season, with a schedule that has the Rams, Philadelphia, and Tampa Bay. Should all be pretty decent games, pretty decent scoring games. I personally only have the Giants winning 5 games in this prediction, going 5-11, but they could win a few more than that with the talent they have on offense. Like other teams so far, though, personally, I think 2021 is a better aim for them to make a postseason run. I like their core players, but I don't think this year will be great for them, as well as the last team in this segment, Washington. I personally believe this team should change their name, like plenty other teams have over the years, to avoid any negativity, and having their main name what it is derogatory towards Native Americans. Maybe if or when they decide to do a uniform change, which is due also, but hey, what do I know, right? I really like the Ron Rivera hiring, though, but this team has a lot of holes. Their defense should be somewhat decent again, with guys that are still there, like Ryan Kerrigan and Jonathan Allen, Landon Collins, and last year's first-round pick, who was pretty decent, Montez Sweat. All to go with Chase Young now will be troublesome for any offense this team faces this year. I really like Terry McLaurin as a receiver in this league as well. He really was a bright spot for this team on offense last year. I love Adrian Peterson, but you gotta wonder how much more does the savvy vet have left in the tank. I'm not entirely sold on Dwayne Haskins yet either, to be honest. He started to do better toward the end of last year, but I want to see him take some strides this year. Otherwise, the youngster might find himself out of a job real quick, with talents like Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields coming out in the draft next year. I got to start getting back into college football so I can give my educated predictions on picks as well. I don't think this is a team that has a great ownership, so the team suffers from it. They have become notorious for being a mediocre team, and Dan Snyder just seems like he doesn't know what he's doing. I believe in Ron Rivera, and I think in a couple of years this will be a very difficult team to play against. I hope the best for Alex Smith, though. This team does still have him under contract, but they might move on from him to unload the salary and create some cap room. Hopefully he can make a comeback this year, because if he doesn't, I think it's going to be really hard for him, extremely difficult to find a home with 2 years out of the game, and he'd be turning 37. Nevertheless, I see Washington winning 3 games this year unless they figure out their offensive line, and I don't think they did anything to replace Trent Williams at left tackle just yet. So I have them going 3-13, finishing in last place again, probably ending up with like the second pick in next year's draft again. As I've said before, I look forward to seeing how wrong I am at the end of the year. So that's the NFC East, guys. Cowboys take it at 10-6, hopefully getting at least one playoff win for Dak's sake, and he gets signed to that long-term deal he's looking for. I'm rooting for you as an individual, man. I cannot root for the Cowboys, though. Just can't do it. The Eagles coming in second place to battle for a wild card spot, going 9-7. Even if Wentz goes down again, I think this team is built to win with a viable second option at quarterback. I like their team as a whole, and I think they can compete with the best of the best once they get in the tournament. The Giants coming in third at 5-10, possibly having another top 10 pick next year that they can use on the defensive firepower now that they're almost set on offense. Just need a true number one wide receiver. In last place with a 3-13 record, the team that may forever be in the hole as long as Dan Snyder is running them. Again, I like Rivera being hired, but I just don't see this team competing on a postseason level for a little while longer at least. Well, that's all for today, guys. I hope you liked the video. If you did, hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe, please, as any and all support is very much appreciated. If you'd like to go above and beyond and help out the channel, you can always go to the Patreon link below and become a patron for Sports Talk with Chavez. Eventually having cool benefits to go with it. But for right now, getting the satisfaction of knowing you're helping this channel improve with every subscription there. Thank you guys again so much for stopping by. Have a great day. Peace and love.